So welcome to the news review segment on the AM show, and thanks for joining us here and allowing us into your space. Joining us for the review segment is the Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleimana Brahima. Good morning to you, Chief, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Great. We have the Daily Graphic newspaper, we have the Daily Guide newspaper, we have the Finder, the Ghanaian publisher, and the custodian. Let's start from the Daily Graphic. On the front page, no development plan, no budget, NDPC Director General to MDAs. Ministry targets 25% science enrollment this year. West Africa security situation, Coups set up, step up terrorist act, and according to a report, we'll get into that. Work to protect democracy, NCC to Parliament, be relevant abreast of changing trends. Nana Joa Hackman advises new lawyers. Let's start from the coup situation in West Africa. Now, the report, or the story written by Emmanuel Boni, says a mid-year review of violence involving African militant Islamist groups has observed spikes in violence and fatalities that coincide with the military coups in those countries. Data from the African Center for Strategic Studies indicate a surge in fatalities in the Sahel and Somalia. The Washington, D.C. based academic institution within the U.S. Department of Defense said fatalities linked to militant Islamist groups reached 22,288 over the past 12 months. This represents a 48% increase from the same period last year that saw 15,024 fatalities. Quote, this level of fatalities is about 2.5 times more than the pace experienced a decade ago and higher than the record of 20,562 set in 2015, mostly driven by Boko Haram's lethal use of violence, unquote. The report, which was released recently, stated. Now, I was asking myself, what could be the contributing factor to this?
Well, we find ourselves in a very, very unfortunate place now in our region and Africa generally. And it appears that we are basically refusing to acknowledge the realities and to learn from the past. We have been in a situation of coup d'etats, from 1960s all the way to the 1990s. We had General this, Colonel that, Major General that, as heads of states across our countries in the sub-region. And then, gradually we transitioned into democracy. And it's been about 30 years now for some countries, 20-something for others. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves getting back to where we had come from. And the question then is, why? What are the reasons? And for me, the reasons are just not far-fetched. It's only that our leaders are pretending not to know what the reasons are. But if you have a youth bulge, as we do have in Africa and even in our country, where thousands, if not millions, of the young generation who are supposed to be working are not working, and you find leaders, grandmothers, grandfathers, fathers, and mothers in leadership position stealing from the people in order to buy houses, multiple houses in Accra, in order to buy multiple houses outside of Africa. Then, to expect that the young people whose future, is being stolen away would just keep quiet and sit down and watch what is happening, it's an unreal thing to expect. And so it's all a question of bad leadership over the years. And our leaders know. If they don't know, then that's a surprise. That, from all indications, what is happening is going to get us into more trouble.
But haven't young people been part of this process?
No, how many people? How many young people? I talk about Ghana, we say, over time we've seen government appointing young people into political positions. So ministers, deputy ministers, and so on. But how many of the young people? It's just about maybe 0.01%. And then they go in and they get inculcated, they get adulterated. They basically are oriented to behave the same way as the elders who led the struggles. And we were hoping that, well, with these people in charge, maybe things will be better. But things have not gone the way we expect. So for me, it's a question of bad leadership. And that is why I expect that ECOWAS, the AU, the UN, and all these multilateral institutions will begin to look at how do we even prevent more coups d'etats, rather than even getting ourselves into trouble with invading one country here and there, and then before we realize another coup d'etat here, and then the whole region is in turmoil. I don't think that we have to go that route. Let's deal with the question of youth unemployment, bad governance, corruption. That is giving people no hope, and people beginning to ask, what is the democracy we're talking about? Is it the one that we basically go into elections, elect some people to come and loot our resources and leave us in our poverty? I don't think that that is what people would appreciate as democracy. Democracy should be a system of governance that benefits everyone. And I believe if we get ourselves onto that path, then we would be gradually getting ourselves from the troubles that we are in now.
But how do we really deal with the leadership challenge confronting Africa when we've seen young people go in there and not making that expected impact that all of us were wishing for?
Well, first of all, it's a question of whether the young people we talk about who get in or who are appointed are given responsibilities that enable them to really perform. Second is the fact that if you take Ghana, for example, we run a constitution that, look, everyone is at the beck and call of the president. We've had situations where, individuals who would want to stand up to the president gets fired. We have a situation where, if you take Domelebo, for example, who was basically saying, look, the right things must happen. We cannot have people, abusing our resources and then going scot-free. In the end, what happened? The leadership of our country decided to find a new date of birth for him, and on the basis of that said, you have even retired. We've created a new date of birth for you, and you have to go on retirement. He was forced out of his office, and then new locks put in the office, and so on and so forth. So, until we have that individual president who is committed and really want things to go the way they should go, there's little that these young people who get appointed can do. And I'm not talking just about Ghana. Whether it is Cote d'Ivoire, where President Ouattara has had to abuse the constitution to continue to stay in power, or you're talking about Senegal, where President Macky Sall, has decided to basically become autocratic, ban opposition party, arrest opposition leader, arrest activists, and so on. Or you're talking about Benin, where civic space has completely been shut down. People cannot express themselves in the name of a president who is delivering development. Or in Togo, where since independence, a president and a father and son have been in charge of the country for over 50 years now, and we still call that democracy. I think we need to talk to each other, say the truth to each other, and that's the only way we can get out of the situation.
But the Togo example then brings in another question. When before Nasimi came to power, he was a young man, wasn't he? And we expected things to be different. It hasn't gone that way, and so I ask, how well prepared are the youth of Africa to exhibit a different kind of leadership from the old ones, or quote, OGs we see exhibit today?
Well, that's really a fundamental question. So if you were to take Ghana, and those of us who are maybe under 50 were to, and we know them in politics, I don't want to mention names, and you ask yourself, if any of these folks were to be made president tomorrow, would things change? And my answer I'll be quite pessimistic in my response, because we have a situation where it's almost like everyone is feeling the way to go is to loot money, make a lot of money, and with that you can be in power forever. And so even the young ones, when they get the opportunity, they are also looting. Unfortunately, our religious entities are not helping, and you have pastors and imams who perhaps are even amassing wealth as much as the politicians that we are complaining about, and therefore are not showing examples. Family values are being, basically bastardized. And so we are in a dire situation. We need a revamping of values, revamping of ethics, and it will all start with maybe an ethical leader one day, having an ethical leader who says, look, enough is enough. We must begin to reform our situation. Things must be done right. Let's build a future for this country. I want to lead in such a way that when I leave, 10 years, 15 years, people will remember me. When I even die, people will remember me. But that is not the kind of leadership that we are having. And unfortunately, we've not had that kind of leadership for some time now.
We can only hope for the better then. Well, to page 13 now, and it says no development plan, no budget. That's the NDPC Director General to MMDAs. Now, the story written by Timothy Nengbe says ministries, departments, and agencies that have failed to submit their plan of activities and interventions to the National Development Planning Commission will not be allocated any budget henceforth. The Director General of the NDPC, Dr. Kojo Mensah Abrampa, issued the quote, no development plan, no budget, unquote, directive at a high-level stakeholders workshop on statistical data collection management in Accra last Thursday. The directive follows the failure of 12 out of the 46 MDAs to present their development plans detailing projects and interventions to the NDPC as required by law. Although he did not provide the names of the defaulting MDAs for administrative reasons, he said the report had been forwarded to the Office of the Chief of Staff for action. Dr. Mensah Abrampa said the NDPC was clothed with the mandate to approve MDA's development plans before a budget was allocated. I'm sure this is the way to go about this, but how effective will this be?
Well, certainly is the way to go. But if that has been the principle and the policy, then the question to ask is, those who have failed to comply, what are the sanctions? Is it basically about saying, oh well, no plan, no budget, and then that's it? And why is it that we don't even know the names? Why should it be a secret that we wouldn't know that, oh, it is this ministry or this department or this agency that hasn't complied with the fundamental thing about submitting, your plan, and then basically on the basis of the plan, a budget being allocated. So some of these things is about institutions demonstrating that they are appearing to be working, and it's also for our media. It's not enough to basically just report. This person says that no plan, no budget. Now let's go beyond that. What are these institutions that have not submitted their plans, and what are the sanctions? Over the years, has it happened? Is it the first time it is happening? For me, these are the things that we should be doing as the media, rather than, oh, the NDPC says no budget, no plan, no budget, and then we just report it, and then it gets highlighted and all of that. I don't think that it is really what is helpful. We need to go beyond these things.
Okay. So you are expecting a penal regime rather than to say, I mean, if you don't bring it, you're not going to get your budget released.
Exactly, and as I said, on the part of the media, I think the questions to ask would have been, okay, if this is what they are saying, let's look at last year. What was the record? Let's look at the previous year. What was the record? So why is the NDPC itself not doing what it has to do? Whether it's about some sanctions being imposed, have we had a situation where an entity hasn't submitted a development plan and therefore no budget? Okay. If that has not been the case, why so? Because the NDPC itself, is it working? For me, these are the critical questions that we need the media to bring out, rather than basically reporting what some CEO has said.
All right, let's do the daily guide now. It says Nana gives 2.5 million to young entrepreneurs. Baumia is religious unifier, Presby moderator. Strive for excellence, law student told. Akosia Meno visits Ga Chiefs. Ghanaian PhD Arabic scholar returns home. Now, let's start with the story on page 3. It's written by Charles Techi Bwedu, presidential correspondent. It says, President Akufo-Addo last Friday gave out an amount of 2.5 million cedis to some 30 young entrepreneurs to push their businesses. This was when he presented awards to winners of the season 4 edition of the presidential pitch meant to provide financial support for young Ghanaian entrepreneurs between the ages of 18 to 40. Caleb Edem Mante of Relu Interactives received 150,000 cedis in excess of 50,000 from what the winner of the third edition of the program received last year. In addition to that, President Akufo-Addo made a personal donation of 50,000, making a total of 200,000 cedis. He designed an application which is an interactive and immersive application of a petroleum drilling rig simulator that teaches postgraduate and undergraduate engineering students practical operations of a drilling rig. The second position went to Bismarck Etona Mensah, a young entrepreneur who uses fish for food seasoning without any additives, also known as Momone Cube. Well, I believe that encouraging our young entrepreneurs is something good, but having had this for 4 years running, what do you make of the impact?
Well, maybe it is something that we have to look into. I think it's a great initiative. Maybe we should even be doing more. 2.5 million Ghana cedis is quite an amount, but in the context of what we are looking at, that is really insignificant. We would want to see a lot of resources going into this. We've had it's called the NEIP.
Yeah. You're talking about NEIP and NAPE, that's it.
Yes, we've had that we would expect to see more support for young entrepreneurs. But over the years, the question you asked is what is impact? And I'm unable to respond to that because I haven't read any report about an evaluation or an impact assessment of the resources that have been given out so far. So it's something that we need to look into. Again, a call onto the media to say over the last 3-4 years, this program has been run. Let's find out the beneficiaries and what they are up to. How far have they come? And what kind of support do they need going forward? Otherwise, I think that this youth entrepreneurship initiative is a fantastic thing. We just need to run it in a way that over the next 5 years or so, we will begin to see giants emerge from these initial supports that are being offered to these young people.
All right. But for the young people themselves, how can we take advantage of some of these opportunities and to improve our ideas or even increase the production that we're involved in, those who are winning this sort of initiatives?
Well, I think it is really about we asserting ourselves, and I'm talking about young people here, asserting ourselves and understanding the context that we find ourselves in, and realizing that, look, the way to go is basically doing things by ourselves and imbibing the right values, ethical values, honesty, sincerity, accountability, transparency. Whether we are into our own businesses or we find ourselves in the public sector, these are values that would enable us to go far. And so for me, these are critical things. Whenever I get the opportunity to talk to colleagues or young people, I tell them, look, imbibe these values of hard work, integrity, honesty, and you would go far. And so for the beneficiaries and those who are still striving to benefit from opportunities like these, I think that would be my message to them. And those are the values that would enable all of us to go far.
Now, on page 9 of the same paper, the Daily Guide, it's a story by Ernest Kofi Edu. It says Ghana to post trade surplus, according to Fitch. Ghana will post its first positive current account balances in 20 years this year after experiencing a deficit of 2.1% of GDP in 2022. Ratings agency Fitch Solutions has stated. The UK-based company said the country's balance of payment will turn positive again in 2023 with a surplus of 1.3% of GDP, explaining that the expected reversal in the capital and finance account for the year is driven by IMF disbursement of $600 million each under the extended credit facility. Quote, the trade surplus will remain large by historical standards in H223 as import will contract more sharply than export due to weak domestic demand. unquote, the rating agency indicated. I mean, we've all been battling with how poor our economy has done. Hearing this, what does it mean to you?
Well, it's positive news, and I'm not surprised. I certainly expect that with the IMF now in charge of our economy, after our own people have run it into a ditch, I really expect that we would see positive developments. Over the period, we've seen some level of stability of our local currency, for example, and certainly that is because IMF folks are in town. You go to the Ministry of Finance, and we are told there are even people, the hands holding people to try and improve our economy. And so I'm not surprised, as I said, with IMF in charge now, one can be a little bit hopeful, except that the conditionalities sometimes also make life so difficult for the ordinary person. In terms of the numbers and indicators, certainly with the IMF in charge and not our people that we had elected to be in charge, I am supposed to see some positive developments in terms of figures, yes.
All right. Now, the final newspaper now. OSP makes strikes, and I'm sure they wanted to say strike, and Kisei Jabing, 186 killed in July road crashes, an increase of 30%, put pressure on Janta in Niger to comply with diplomacy, upon Nkrumah says. Dr. Baumia is a unifying force for Muslims and Christians, Presby moderator. Can government pay first 2 billion cedis coupons on new bonds, which will mature tomorrow? Now, let's start from page 4. It says, 2 years after being sworn into office, the special prosecutor, Kisei Jabing, has shrugged a number of successes since replacing his predecessor, Martin Amidou. These include the establishment of an administrative and operational system. This has involved moving the office from a 3-bedroom house to a 10-story building and retrofitting the empty 10-story structure into a fitting office. The OSP has also moved from 0 permanent staff to 249 in September. They have also improved citizens' engagement through the establishment of a functioning website and multiple social media handles, and instituted a toll-free line for the filing of complaint. You were very vocal in, the establishment of this special prosecutor's office. Do you feel same that Kisei Jabing is really chalking some strides?
So the office of the special prosecutor, it's the office establishment of the office has been for some time now. Honorable Martin Amidou was the first OSP. There were challenges and all. At that time, we were told the new office complex was under construction and all of that. I really don't see moving from a 3-bedroom house to a 10-bedroom house as an achievement by Kisei Jabing, my good brother and good friend. I mean, this is government institution, government put up a structure, and then you move in. I don't think that is really the achievement. And of course, the measurement of the impact of the OSF is not about the size of the office they sit in. It is about the extent to which corruption and corruption-related offenses are dealt with. Over time, we've seen a number of cases come up. We've seen a number of actions being taken by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. That is, certainly heartwarming, and we look forward to seeing a lot more. I, however, want to caution, because I over the last few months, have seen a pattern that appears to suggest that there is some public relations work that is intended to be done or that is being done to show up, whatever is being done by the OSP. So you see on social media, pictures and other infographics being thrown out about the achievements so far, what has been done, number of cases, number of staff, number of that. I think the office need to be very careful about the path that it wants to take. If it has been advised that, oh, look, let's do a lot of PR and get a lot of public support, get ourselves into the public domain and so on, a time may come they may regret that. I think given the nature of the office, what is important is let the work be done and let people begin to applaud the work that is being done. If the OSP is prosecuting someone in court, or a matter has come up, like the Cecilia Adapa incident, and we are told the OSP has picked up, placed her under arrest. The last week or so, the husband was placed under arrest. Accounts have been frozen, and so these actions, when they are communicated, we would all begin to follow what is being done and appreciate the work that is being done, rather than that intentional thing that is being done. Oh, let's push it. Let's showcase what is being achieved and all of that. A time may come that will backfire. I think they need to be very careful about that.
Okay. So they should, hold on a bit on the PR.
Yeah, I think they should tone down on the PR.
Okay. All right then. Now, 186 killed in July road crashes, an increase of 30%. Data compiled by the Motor Traffic and Transport Unit indicate that road crash death toll for July 2023 increased by 30.07% as compared to July 2022. A total of 186 persons were recorded to have died through road crashes in July 2023, whereas 143 persons died in July 2022. Cumulatively, 1,443 commuters were killed in road traffic crashes between January and July 2023. A road traffic crash and casualty situation report released by National Road Safety Authority showed that 149 of the dead were males, whilst 37 were females. A total of 1,328 persons got injured, with 213 pedestrians knocked down. We've done all the education we can. We've engaged on trying, all the campaigns trying to reduce this, but it looks like we are still not getting anywhere. What is lacking in all of those educations, and what ought to be done for us to achieve the desired goals?
It's a sad situation, and I believe we still have to do more public education. It comes down to the indiscipline on the road, and this is about individual driver indiscipline to a large extent. If you are tired, rest. If you are sleepy, rest. Don't overspeed, and yet you will still have people doing all this. You have arrests being made all the time, and the situation remains the same. I think it comes down to, first of all, driver indiscipline. We all need to be disciplined. The second point is law enforcement. We need to really get to the point where our MTTD officials who are doing a great job would move away from, what we all know. As in, they arrest you, you are a traffic offender, a road traffic offender, and you part with something, and then you are allowed to move. We cannot deceive ourselves that it is still not happening, even though we are seeing improvements over the years. These are things that are still happening. And so it's about self-discipline. That's number one amongst our drivers and our road users. And number two is about law enforcement. We have to enforce the law, to the full effect. Other than that, we can complain about our roads, but strangely it appears that these accidents happen on even some of the better roads. Accra, Takrady, Accra, Kumasi, yes, some portions have problems. Kumasi, Techima, Kumasi, Kintampo. These are not roads that you would say are really in terrible shape. So it appears that the roads that are even better begins to be the ones that are,
taking a lot of lives,
having fatalities, and it comes down to self-discipline and road traffic law enforcement.
All right, let's do the Ghanaian publisher now. Strive for Excellence, Anajo Hackman, charges law graduate. Baumia in a big lead ahead of Saturday's polls. Upon Nkrumah speaks to media CSOs on Niger. Domahene Lord government for project completed in Bono, and Operation Double Science enrollment in the offing from the Ministry of Education. Now, the latest polls conducted by Outcomes International Ghana and Center for Sustainable African Development Initiatives, UK, has projected a win for Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia in the impending special delegate elections of the New Patriotic Party with 72.6%. The special delegate-based survey saw Alan Chamanting with 7.7%, Kenneth Japan third with 4.3%, Kwabena Japan fourth with 1.8%, and Dr. Owusu Akoto fifth with 0.6%, trailing Dr. Bawumia. Ahead of this polls, do you have any expectations?
No, absolutely. I think that Dr. Bawumia certainly is a fantastic guy, but the reality is that the system has also been orchestrated in his favor. There's no doubt about that. Talk to every government official, talk to the regional chairman, regional secretaries, and so on. And it's obvious that the government machinery is basically backing Dr. Bawumia. I have said that if Dr. Bawumia gets less than 80%, or in fact 85% of this super delegates votes, that will be quite a tricky one for him in the main primaries, because this is basically regional chairmen, regional secretaries, parliamentarians, ministers, and so on. And all these people appear to have been whipped in line. And my expectation would be that Dr. Bawumia gets even close to 90%. If he doesn't do that, then it's going to be a very, very dicey one for him in the main primaries of the party. And so, these polls that are coming up, I don't think it is something that is surprising. You don't need polls to tell you that for the super delegates, Dr. Bawumia is going to win. And that is partly because, as I said, people have been whipped in line to support him.
Okay. All right. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining us this morning. Do have a fantastic day.
Thank you very much. Have a great day too.
Suleiman Abrahima is the Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. And that was our news review segment. Up next is sports, but we do have a lot for you to stay with us. And remember to go onto our social media platform and share with us your thought on the discussion that we'll be having here on the show. We have two important discussions. We have them on that page. Leave your comment. We'll read that at the end of the show. But we're grateful to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic for helping us out with the news review segment. Now we're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening at several of our locations. In Accra, we're located at Spintex opposite Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Chronom Abohia behind Angel Educational Complex. In Takrade, we're at Tanaja Estate. Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa. In the Nzema area, we are located in Esiama. Give us a call on 0244-867068 or 0274-234321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic diseases. And it's now official. Joy Prime, Joy FM, and other MGL platforms are media partners for the biggest carnival in Ghana, the Chalet Wate Street Art Festival. It's an annual colorful festival of sights and scenes with thousands of revelers to be treated to rich African heritage, art, dance, street painting, graffiti, murals, you name it. And trust me, with a multimedia group involved, it's going to be an explosion. It's going to be a promotion of our creative arts economy while achieving the mission to sell and promote Ghana. And just as the name Chalet Wate suggests, the festival is flip-flopping to a new location this year, Osu. So come along, let's go make unforgettable memories at Osu from August 21 to 27, 2023. So that's it for Chalet Water. I'd love to see you there, so let's meet there. But again, know this, that water is life. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all purposes. 330 ml and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags. 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. Our 19-liter jar bottles are ideal for homes and offices. All you must do now is drink Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. Choose a bottle of Awake Purified Drinking Water today and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, we say one for life. And remember that for every bottle you buy, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center, so that we can support those who are undergoing operations there. Another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. For bulk purchase, please call 0262351251. This advert is FDA approved. Well, we'll take a quick break. When we return, Muftau Nabila will be joining us with latest from the world of sports. Stay with us.